General quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google Blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
Yeah, we need a pot of gold around here nowadays. Here we go. It's Leprechaun Day. That's Leprechaun Day. We got two Italian guys, great friends of the Irish, I'm sure. And what are you, Mark? What are you?
I'm red, white, blue American, man.
You got everything going on.
Came over on the second ship.
Well, St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Have a wonderful and happy St. Patrick's Day. Closed all over the world.
No green beer for you, Tommy.
It's what?
No green beer for you, Tommy.
No, no green beer today. You know what? We've been through more difficult stuff, but we need to recognize St. Patrick's Day at least a little bit before we get into our show, where the title is Bummer No Green Beer. Then a Corona warning for addicts. Joe dead streams. You're going to love Joe dead streaming, a little different than live streaming. And Andrew Gillum getting sober. He's getting sober. We're going to talk about that and all of that. So we got a lot going on. But a little quiz for you guys in the control room. J. Mark Campbell, you're there. What about you, Midwest Dick?
What's the quiz question? I'm here.
You're there. All right. Tom Trento here, 11:05 in the morning, 11:06, WNN 1470. Where, gentlemen, where was St. Patrick born?
Ireland.
New Jersey.
New Jersey. What century?
It was like the mid-centuries where he chased all the snakes out or something like that.
Okay, it's close. You sound like Joe Biden answering the question.
You know how it is.
Joe Biden answering a question. Well, truth be told, St. Patrick was born in Britain.
Okay.
Close enough. Same thing.
And
there's a Jersey. By the way, the original Jersey is in Britain.
That's right.
I think I was close.
It is. He was, at 16 years old, he was kidnapped by Irish Raiders. Those little Raiders there.
Irish Raiders.
Are they like the Oakland Raiders? And then he was sold as a slave to a Celtic, however you want to say it. Celtic priest in Northern Ireland. Then he escaped from there, went back to Britain, but eventually he returned to Ireland as a Christian missionary.
Wow.
All of this in the 4th century, 1, 2, 3, 4, 300s.
No way.
300s.
I thought it was 14. Okay.
Yeah. And he banished the snakes around...
chased all the snakes out,
around Ireland. No, that's wrong, too.
Wrong?
There were no snakes.
He did a good job.
He did a very good job.
That's like keeping the alligators out of the gator bowl.
That's good. There never were snakes, believe it or not, in the Emerald Isle in the first place because of the topography and the location of it. It's a place with no snakes. I'm moving there. I live on the water in Florida, and there's snakes, and I don't like them. What about leprechauns? Are they real or are they fake?
Tommy, they are real. Tommy, you know that's real.
Midwest, real or fake?
It has something to do with the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz, but I'm not sure.
How about Notre Dame? The Fighting Irish, right?
Fighting Irish.
Well, again, these are fake. They're not real. There really are not little leprechaun men running around.
What about the Munchkins? Got to be.
Yeah, well. All right, what about the 3-leaf clover that he used to just bring all over the place, the shamrock? What about the shamrock being used by Irish and St. Patrick?
Yeah, that's definitely Irish, Tommy.
Okay, the shamrock, but guess what? What was he? What was his purpose in life? Saint Patrick, Saint?
Snake chaser?
Saint, he was a Catholic, and he was a missionary. Remember I said missionary, went back as a missionary? He used to take the shamrock, the 3-leaf clover, the 3 leaves, and use that to illustrate the Trinity.
Okay.
Father, Son, Holy Ghost, all in unity in one. So 3 distinct elements, but all being one. He became famous for using that as an illustration, and the shamrock became part of the
I actually
lore.
found on St. Patrick's Day, it was like in 1993, we were right next to a bar. We lived at our house. I walked out the door. I looked on the ground, and within 2 seconds, I found a 4-leaf clover.
A 4-leaf clover. That's a lucky one.
And I was actually on the 6 o'clock news that night with it.
Well,
What?
pretty good.
You were on the
6
on the
o'clock news, yeah.
Now listen to this.
News.
You were on the news for that?
Six-
Oh, yeah.
No, well, I found it
Check
on
the
the.
tape.
I had it in the water, and I kept it. And the news crew came by there, and they go, "What's that?" I go, "It's a 4-leaf clover. I just found it." He go, "Really? We got to take a picture of this."
Pull that up. That's on the Wayback Machine.
Wow.
somewhere.
How old were
That'd
you?
be pretty cool.
No, this is like 93, 94.
Wow.
Oh, breaking news.
What?
Today is primary day in Florida. I'm going to talk about that later. Bars and nightclubs ordered to close for 30 days in Florida. Watch DeSantis' full statement. So,
After tonight or before tonight?
I don't know. I don't know. But
It
we're
does say
all
Pennsylvania, Tommy.
self-quarantining here at the United West. All right, now listen to this. The Irish,
But West Palm it was already shut down.
they're already shut down.
9 o'clock curfew.
All right, well, the whole state now, which is good. I mean, we've talked about this. We'll talk about it more in the days ahead to flatten that curve. But at 10 after, Tom Trento, your host here on the Trento Show, Make America Think Again. We're making you think about St. Patrick and St. Patty's Day. We've all been to the parades. Delray has a big one, New York, Boston, everybody. Chicago, I've been to that one. They turned the Chicago River green.
Savannah, I've been to Savannah.
The first St. Patrick's Day parade ever was held in 1601. Guess where?
Savannah, Georgia.
Close. St. Augustine, Florida.
Well, Savannah, believe it or not, is the third.
That's
largest,
the big one.
It's
Yeah.
the third largest one in the nation.
Yeah.
They actually surpass like Chicago every now and then, but
Well, but let's go back to St. Augustine in 1601. How did that happen? I mean, there were Irish people.
Well, it was a Catholic. It's a Catholic holiday, basically, a Catholic event, and you don't have to be Irish to do it. The St. Patrick was a very revered saint, and it was a Spanish colony founded by the Spanish Catholics, and they took time to have a little celebration. They probably made a little bit of
any excuse to drink beer.
brewski
Catholics.
there, you know, and pretty soon Boston, then New York in the 1700s, and then the thing just took off like crazy. But do you realize that at one time in America, the Irish laddies
Irish
and
laddie,
lassies
yeah.
were scorned by Americans?
Yes, they little scumbags they were.
Yes, they were not liked. They had their potato famine in the late, I think it was 1845, and they lost all their potatoes. And about 1 million of them left out of like 3 million in the whole country. And good portion of that million came here and landed in New York in the lower part of Manhattan. And the Americans just saw them as dirty, ugly immigrants and all of this nonsense. They came with diseases. But that was the early start. Then the Italians came a little while later.
And
And
really,
they made the Irish look good.
They made
the Irish look pretty good now.
Then the regular white Americans were going, yo, we thought the Irish were bad. Look at these
Oh, my God.
Italian people here.
By the way, there is another day coming up. I think St. Joseph's Day is overlooked. There's, I think that
Mark, your caller is on the line.
there might be
Okay.
an Italian day that gets kind of overlooked. But St. Patrick's Day is great. Let's all celebrate and have a good time.
Absolutely. One last point on St. Patrick's Day before we move on at 11:12 WNN. Tom Trento, your host here. Corned beef and cabbage with
I love that.
with carrots.
Ooh, yes.
An Irish staple, right?
Yes.
Wrong.
Oh, come on.
Wrong.
Tommy, you're
Wrong.
blasphemy, Tommy, blasphemy.
In Ireland, they ate ham and cabbage, but when they came over here, they were very, very poor. Couldn't afford the ham. They were living in the lower slums of Manhattan in the 19th and 20th century. So they would purchase leftover corned beef from the various ships. They purchased the junk they were going to give to the animals, and then they would cook it. They'd boil it 3 times with cabbage to remove some of the brine, and corned beef and cabbage became an Irish dish in the United States.
Oh, I make a
of
killer
America.
corned beef and cabbage. I make a killer corned
I got to taste it because I love corned beef and cabbage.
All right, Tom, I'm a little nervous here. They said, Mark, your caller is on the line.
No, it's
Nothing to do with me?
well, you're the director of the show.
Okay.
So.
I'm just checking. I didn't know.
But here's the situation now, moving from the ridiculous to the sublime here. But as Midwest Dick said, have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day holiday, all of you who celebrate something like that. And one of the consequential problems of holidays like that is that people tend to drink a bit too much.
No, Tommy, no.
For a large percentage of the population, not a big deal, but for a significant percentage of the population, alcohol and alcoholism has become, particularly if you've had anyone in your family or friends who have been through alcohol or drug addiction, devastating to the family, devastating to the individual, devastating to the country in many, many respects, a serious problem. And our next guest is an individual who works in this area as an interventionist. And an interventionist is the white knight that comes riding into your home when you have a relative that is simply ravaging the home through these types of addictive behaviors. And one thing leads to another, usually criminal activity and theft from the home, and all of this is just a horrible deal. Well, an interventionist is someone the family looks to come in, provide some stability, some counseling, and then set a plan to correct this problem. And this particular interventionist has an interesting twist on the ramifications of the self-exiling, self-quarantining over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it turns out to be.
Oh, okay.
How that is going to impact people who are addicted to or struggling with addictions to drugs or alcohol.
Yep.
So, gentlemen, welcome Mark Cantor with us. Mark, how are you today?
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Good. We're doing great here. We'd love to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day and everybody going out and having fun this evening, but the world isn't like that right now. It will become that once again, but your work is going to continue to address some of the abuses in both alcohol and drugs. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, and as I was sitting here listening to your introduction, thank you very much for that. I had a thing that popped up on my phone that's saying that Governor DeSantis was ordering bars and clubs closed. So that's an extra layer of demise to this year's St. Patrick's Day, unfortunately. But it's a good segue because families that are dealing with addiction, or individuals that are dealing with addiction, St. Day, New Year's Eve, the 4th of July, that's amateur hour. The people that I work with, not to say that they are that they could drink those people under the table. Often that's not the case. With someone who's an alcoholic or an addict, it often doesn't matter how much they drink. They could be, it's why they drink. And in some people in the late stage addiction, it only takes 1 or 2 drinks before they're completely blacked out. So in a way, I like to say, people say to me, but a glass of wine is good for you once a day, and I always say, you're absolutely correct, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people who have experienced, and families that have experienced pretty bad consequences from someone's addiction to alcohol or drugs. And what I do is families hire me to come in and help create some order in the family system. It's usually you come in and there's chaos. The disease of addiction has spread to the entire family. Everybody is acting crazy. They're acting like an addict or an alcoholic, though they may not be drinking. And then I help them make some treatment decisions and then prepare them to do an intervention. And the intervention is essentially that morning that we come in and we, with loved ones and close friends, and we sit the alcoholic or addict down, and we say, "Look, it's time to go to treatment. It's time. The buck stops here. You've had 30 or 40 years of drinking, and now it's time to try something else. It's not quite that simple. There's a lot of work to it, and a lot of the situations are they can be quite precarious in that nobody wants to go to treatment. The way our brains are wired is to defend our addiction, is to defend our alcoholism, and that goes back to the disease of addiction, the disease model. But that's basically what we do, and try to come to some solutions.
All right, Mark. How did you? Some of the guys have questions. I mean, this is a critically important and fascinating subject. What qualifies you to be an interventionist? To jump into that mess and say, "Hey, I could help you guys out."
Yeah, that's a good question. A couple of things. Well, I mean, my biggest qualifier is that in 2004. I sought treatment for my addiction to drugs and alcohol. I was, at the time, 32 years old. I was 100 pounds overweight. I was going through a month's worth of prescription Adderall or Ritalin every 3 or 4 days, drinking every day, and also had an addiction to sugar. And my wife was taking my then 2-year-old daughter and talking to a divorce attorney. And this had gone on for about, I came upon it through honest means. It was a drug that was prescribed to me by a psychiatrist in Washington, D.C. But it did for me what it made me feel the way I thought other people felt all the time, and kicked off a 10-year run of drugs and alcohol.
Wow.
The other thing that qualifies me is my training. I'm a certified interventionist.
Okay, so you have both the academic and the personal. You have a warning for folks during this unique crisis we're in right now. But before we do that, J. Mark in our control room has a question for you.
Well, one of my questions was along those lines, is because during this time, people are enclosed. They become more agitated towards each other, and so they turn to things to alleviate that agitation. But my first question is, do you find the alcohol, wherever there's an alcoholic, there's an enabler, enabling the alcoholic, and
Correct.
What do you have to, and they really don't realize that they're enabling at the time. How do you get that message across to one who's enabling the alcoholic to make them understand that that's what they're doing?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, because really, 80-85% my work with a family is about the family and not about the alcoholic or addict. I spend a number of hours working with the family members. First it may be in person, or a number of over the phone interviews with the different people involved in the addict's life, influential people, spouse, children, parents, siblings, that kind of thing. And then I spend an entire day with the family from about 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. the day before the intervention. My time with the actual addict or alcoholic is quite small in comparison. So it really is about changing the family system. I think about it like this. They take you have three elements to create fire. You have to have fuel, spark, and oxygen. So if you had a little container, and in that container was fuel and a spark, but no oxygen, you don't have fire. But the minute you take that cover off and you add in oxygen, which is often the family system, right, boom, you've got a fire. So what we're looking to do is we need to take one of those elements away, and the element we take away is oxygen. We take away the family enabling. But you're right, a lot of families don't realize what they're doing is enabling. Parent by nature, right? I'm a father. You guys are, I know Tom's a dad, and we are wired to save our children. And we don't want to see them hurt. We don't want to see them in pain. We don't want to see them have consequences. So we often come in and rescue them when what we should be doing is letting them struggle. Right. And sometimes that enabling could be financial, it can be emotional, it can be pretty subtle. It can be about secret keeping. A lot of, we talk about that in addiction too. Families that keep secrets. You look at a family and you would never know that dad's an alcoholic or mom's an alcoholic or there's drugs in the family because they do such a good job. But what we do is we break through. We want to expose the addiction, expose the illness to sunshine, because the disease grows, and this is true of mental illness, which I consider addiction to be part of, just in my own philosophy. But addiction and mental illness, they grow in dark and dank places, and so what we're trying to do is expose it. But yeah, it's about working with the family, and I'll tell you how many times I get on the phone with a family. I just suggested treatment for someone a couple of weeks ago that would have actually taken them out of the country for certain reasons. I made that recommendation, and the mother immediately said, "Oh, but he has a girlfriend." And I said, well, "Who cares that he has a girlfriend? He's in his fifth treatment center. He's suffering from a fatal, if not treated disease.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And she doesn't. So he's been through. This guy's been through 5 or 6 or 7 treatment centers. Literally was the case. What's the only thing left that we can fix, and that's the family system, and that's that, whether that mother realizes or not, or should want to be or not, she is protecting and enabling her son's addiction.
One quick follow-up question with that is what I found dealing with alcoholics and other types of addicts is I found myself saying, if I didn't do this, if I did this, he wouldn't have done that. Somehow I'm controlling the behavior of the alcoholic. What other red flags, types, warning signals to understand you are actually enabling to people who are listening right now and say, you know what, I might be doing that.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, there's the sister program to Alcoholics Anonymous is Al-Anon, and essentially it's the same program as AA, but it is for family members. It's for people that have been affected by somebody else's drinking, and they have the, I think the 3 C's is that you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it.
Oh, good point.
So, yeah,
that is a good point. Yeah.
It's hard to, again, it comes back to, we're all hard on ourselves. We say, what am I not doing? Where did I screw up that my kid is an alcoholic and an addict? And, I look back at my own situation, and I said this to my dad, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe longer. I said, I just want you to know that for whatever it is I've gone through in life, whether it was addiction or having to do with something else, I don't blame you. You've done the best you can do. This is on me.
Right.
But with that said, there are things you can do as a parent or a spouse that starves out the fire a little bit.
All right, Tom Trento here with Mark Cantor, an interventionist, 11:28 in the morning, WNN, 1470 AM on your dial, ladies and gentlemen, or you can turn to 95.3 iHeartRadio. You can find us there, or you can find us streaming on the intraweb, WWNNradio.com. Mark, we've got a couple of minutes left. You had a warning for families and for individuals struggling with addiction, whether drugs or alcohol, in light of the corona quarantine. Share that with us.
Yeah. So, there's nobody that people there are a lot of people out there that are teetering on needing professional help for their addictions. And but up to last week, those are people that had work or school, so there's somewhere to go. and be accountable. They had to show up in the morning. They had to keep their stuff together. But now that they're alone, working from home, they're isolated. Isolation is the fuel of addiction and mental illness.
Good point.
So I think that there's going to be a huge wave of problems that come down the pipe. There are people. This is going to push people over the edge. People that are already struggling with drugs or alcohol and illness. This isolation, this quarantine, is just going to make that worse. There's nobody out there that's going to say, I'm a daily drinker or a managed drinker, and now I'm isolated at home with no oversight, and I think I'm going to drink less. That's not going to happen. This is also the worry, the anxiety, the depression, all the emotions that go along with this is how people manage their emotions with drinking and drugging, or food or other addictive substances. And I just want to put a warning out there that you need to be aware of this. And just because there's the coronavirus is out there, there are treatments. The treatment centers are up and running. I've talked to a lot of them. There's been a lot of the AA meetings have been reduced to online meetings. The treatment centers are still out there, and there's a lot of them in South Florida that are very good. I want to give you my website. The name of my company is South Florida Intervention. My website is southfloridaintervention.com, but also I have the website gethelpforaddiction.com, if that's easier. So gethelpforaddiction.com.
Get help for addiction.
And Tom, can I bring
Undoubtedly, Mark, there are people listening who fall into the category you're describing. I mean, if you were sitting down with one of them personally right now, what would you tell them regarding the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, a month, 2 months?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're someone who is gainfully employed and you have an alcohol problem and you have insurance, now may be the best time to get into treatment, because one of the objections I hear for people going to treatment is I can't miss work. Well, there you go. Or I can't be out of school for that long. Well, now's the perfect opportunity. No addiction untreated, without professional help, only gets worse. It never gets better. I have thousands and thousands of hours of examples and testimonies that prove that that's true.
Okay, Mark, you had something?
Yeah, real quick is one of the things I've been always talking about is internet addiction, okay, especially with everybody coming in, going into, which leads to alcoholism, blah, 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 and all the other stuff. What is your advice to people for internet addiction right now?
Yeah, internet addiction, as we call them, process addictions, are, just as deadly. I was just at an education event last week, and there was some statistics that 40% of the people addicted to sex or pornography attempt suicide, and 17% successfully complete suicide. Wow. 50% of people that are addicted to online gambling attempt suicide, and also 17% of them successfully. There's just so much, and again, I mean, you're home alone, and, the only thing you've got is your computer. The instances of porn addiction is really bad, the ages in which kids are now first exposed to pornography is something like 9 or 11. I can't remember exactly, but they're both bad, it's just bad. I mean, get help. It does not get better on its own. It requires professional help. And again, there are treatment centers out there that they specialize in this.
Thank you for bringing that point up, Mark.
Hey, Midwest, any questions for Mark before we let him go?
Other than just saying thank you for bringing this topic, Tom, and our guest, and Mark, your question, I think this is critically important. Thinking of people alone all day with these issues, it would sound to me like people, you certainly want to push them to get to treatment, but if they're not going to do treatment, at least there needs to be some level of accountability, or checking in, or setting up appointments, or using video conferencing. For these people to be in a dark place in their home is really scary, and the fact that there might be antisocial behavior patterns that happen, including people who are not going to continue to be quarantined if they can't take it anymore. They're going to be out and about, and the whole quarantine thing could fail.
And that's a really good point you brought about the online counseling. That's online counseling. It's very, very.
It's a perfect storm because you got somebody who's on the edge. You know, they're an in denial alcoholic or addicted to drugs. Now they have to stay home. Their job is being cut. There's the whole psychological panic about this whole thing. There's the anxiety. There's the lack of money. You know,
fear.
Where do you turn to? What do you do? Boom! You turn to the bottle or the little plastic
or the internet
container or the internet, and boom. Yeah. So what's your website again? SouthFloridaInterventionist.com?
SouthFloridaIntervention.com.
Intervention, okay.
Maybe easier to just say gethelpforaddiction.com.
Okay.
GetHelpForAddiction.com. And if you missed all of that, folks, just contact us at theunitedwest.org, and we'll get you in touch with Mark Cantor. Hey, Mark, we'll have you back probably next week to see how things are going and the anxiety level in the state of Florida, what's going on here. And, hopefully your talents and your commitment can be used. We appreciate what you're doing for sure. Definitely need it.
Thank God for people like you.
Yep.
I'm serious about that.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for all your good work.
All right, you take care. It's Mark Cantor, an interventionist. See, Mark is an interventionist.
I was getting a little worried there, Tom. I was like, oh, Tom, you trying to tell me?
No, when Mark shows up here, then you know you got a problem.
Okay, all right. I was worried. I was getting a little concerned.
When he's an in-studio guest, Mark, that'll be the clue.
Then you got a problem.
Mark, say hi to Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Say hi to Mark. Why don't you say hi to Mark in the van over there?
Yeah. Hop in the van, Mark.
Just go for a ride.
Where are you going? We're going to eat something.
We're going to go pizza.
We're going to smoke a cigar on the beach. We're going to go smoke
leave it to this group to take a really serious subject and then close it out and then make jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Who makes jihad fun but us?
Yeah,
okay,
right.
you know.
No, that is serious. I mean, we've all been through
horrible
family members or close friends who have killed themselves too with an addict.
I had an uncle who died because of the alcoholism.
Well, that statistic on 17% suicide successfully is terrifying.
Yeah, that is.
And the whole thing, and the internet addiction, I can't stress that enough. In South Korea, they have intervention hospitals. Okay, we're not even talking about it here in the United States.
Well, we're talking about Joe Biden today because it's Patrick's Day, St. Patrick's Day.
Tommy, yes.
And we do have a election here in Florida, ladies and gentlemen, 11:36 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host, The Trento Show, where we do what, guys? We make America Irish again. We make America today. We make America Irish again. It's no big deal. The Italians love the Irish today. We're good. Let me give you some numbers in the state of Florida. Not boding well for the Republicans. You ready for this?
Really? What's going on?
All right, here's the latest numbers as of today. So far, I want everybody listening at 11:37 in the morning, WNN 1470. Listen carefully. So far, 1,307,082 vote by mail ballots have been cast.
So 1.4 million, basically?
We'll round it off. No. We'll round it off to 1.3. Okay. So somebody keep track here.
1.3 Republicans.
1.3. No, that's total.
Total
by
votes.
mail ballots.
Okay.
We have 10 million voters in the state of Florida.
So 10%.
So 10%, a little over 10%, 1.3 million have mailed in their ballots.
Okay.
Of the 1.3 million, 656,000, that's over 50,000. No, let's use 656,000. 656,757 have been from Republicans.
That's a little under 50%. Okay.
So put 656, 632, 453, 632,453 from registered Democrats.
Well, that's lower, right?
So, 20,000 vote differential?
It's a split, yeah.
More So far, 20,000 more Republicans have voted by mail than Democrats.
That's
good.
That's
where we're at. Overall, there are 866,035 mail ballot requests that have not been returned.
Yeah, I'd be one of them.
Did you request one by mail?
Yeah, usually I do, but then I got lazy and said, okay, I'll just vote because my polling thing's across the street.
All right, so we got 866,000 that are still sitting out there. So even if those numbers hold true, and there's a 20,000 vote advantage over Democrats by Republicans. But maybe not. We don't know. Those are an unknown, 866,000. Of those, 349,000 are held by Republicans, 487,000 are held by Democrats.
I don't follow you.
That's 100,000. There's 866,000 that haven't come back.
Okay.
Of that, I'll just round these things out. 350,000 of the 866 are Republicans,
okay,
and 500,000 are Democrats.
Okay.
So there's still 500,000 Democrat votes out there. It's 100,000 more than Republicans.
They got no idea who to vote for. That's their problem.
Well, that's true. Additionally, 651,356 people have voted at early polling places.
Those would be Democrats usually.
209,000 were Republicans. I was one of them. And 438,000 were Democrats.
That's typical.
230,000 more Democrats than Republicans have voted in the state of Florida.
I'm not really worried about it because this is the first state where there's not a
turnout is ridiculous compared to Republicans. The Democrats are turning out.
Well, here's the problem: there's no down ballot on the Republican thing. There's not. You have. It's also combined with senator or congresswoman or congressman or whatever. There's no down. It's just president. That's it, and therefore. Everybody, Trump people are like, yeah, all right. If I feel like
this is a bad sign because there's almost an equal number, a little more Democrats than Republicans in the state, but there's this huge, something like 4 million non-registered, no party affiliation, NPA, about 4 million NPA, and the break between Democrats and Republicans in the state, there's a few more Democrats, but the turnout, hundreds of thousands of Democrats turning out over Republicans is astonishing. What does it say? It says everybody's on the Republican side is a little lazy. Now, what do you think the turnout's going to be today? Right now, it's at something like 12% turnout.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's going to go from there?
I don't think it's going to change the ratio proportions because, like I said, the Republicans are like, if I want to go in there and vote
the
for Trump,
virus going to keep people home?
Yeah, they're going to say, I'm voting for Trump. He's the only one on the ballot. He's going to win it obviously. So I'm not going to go in there. And that's the only thing I got to vote for. I'm going to vote.
What do you think, Midwest? What do you think?
I think that all was very important. By the way, if anybody wants to repeat all the numbers that we just gave out, I would be very impressed. I'm wondering how people handled all the numbers. But I think in perspective, it may not be that big a deal because we have crises all around us. It is the primary. I'm just, we can all guess what it's going to look like later on when the big vote happens and how important that's going to be. I'm not sure it makes a big difference right now.
Yeah, and I think the Democrats are going to say, we all know it's Biden. It's over anyway.
Well, Biden's 66 to 22% ahead of Bernie, but there's 20 people on the Democrat ballot. They left all those candidates on. And on the Trump side, there's 4 candidates. So get out the vote, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very, very important.
It actually is important for the Republicans to show up a strong showing. It really is.
And it's also very important. We got to come up with a better name than social distancing. Social distancing. How about stay the hell away from me? STHAM. We got to come up with an acronym that we use to tell people get away from me. But you can go. You can vote. I did it. They have rubber gloves there or latex gloves, whatever. If you don't use those, there's no contact with any person there. There is contact with stuff, items. You got to pick up a piece of paper, and then you just go wash your hands right afterwards. This isn't a virus that once it goes on your finger, it flips you in a judo throw, and then wraps you up in a ball and eats you. It isn't that. It'll be on your hands. You wash it off. So much stuff on our hands anyway. But go vote, please. We need you to exercise your your responsibility. Now, if you don't know who to vote for, and you want to watch a live stream of Joe Biden doing because he can't interact directly with the people and with Corn Pop and with on Super Thursday, Tuesday, and all of that, he has. This is the guy. What does this guy want to do? He was criticizing President Trump for handling the corona crisis, right?
Yes.
Remember, he came out and he made believe he was the president. This is what I would do. This is what I would do. This is what all the stuff Trump's already doing. I would do this and I would do that.
So isn't Trump doing that?
And then he wants to handle the health care in the country, manage that. He wants to run the whole country. All right. Well, how does he do with a live stream? You know what a live stream is?
Yes.
Midwest Dick, do you know what a live stream is?
Yeah, you're supposed to be breathing and speaking and dynamically projecting yourself across the airwaves. So this is a great indication of the effectiveness of an executive, what he would do if he was the president, dealing with all the issues today. Joe Biden live.
And we're going to show you something in a minute here, but I have in my hand a live streaming tool. This little thing right here, and we don't want to do that.
Well,
we don't want that to happen.
I'd love to have one of those 10 years ago.
This little tool, you can turn it on, you could put it on video, you do this, connect it to whatever, YouTube, whatever, and you have a beautiful picture, beautiful audio. Perfect. This is a perfect camera for live streaming. That's all you need. But, Dick, you're a master at the Zoom platform, and what do you got going on tonight with Zoom?
Whoa. Well, it's very timely. Tonight we have a conversation about Chrislam. For those of you who might not know what Chrislam is.
What is Chrislam?
Chrislam would be Chris for Christianity, Islam. You blend the two together. You have the merger of a new world political party. I'm calling the political party Chrislam, the blending of Christianity and Islam. We have an in-depth conversation with a Catholic activist who's been studying the Pope Francis and will bring a lot of information about that. We're going to get people to think about the Chrislam as, what is it? What really is
Oil
it?
and water tried to mix together? Isn't that basically what you're trying to do?
Actually, it's a little bit more like, no, it's like a cream. It's like when you blend them. And they're blended, and it works.
I don't know how that works.
It's
Should
fascinating.
be fire and gasoline, but
fire and gasoline.
but
Right?
it
Anyway,
does blend.
it's a very, very special presentation. Thank you, Tom. You can go to the United West, look for Sharia Crime Stoppers. You'll find the registration link, and you'll be with us tonight, live stream with question and answers with Liz Ure, who is an international child advocate lawyer, but has been studying this particular pope as a Catholic and has lots to say.
This is some invented thing on the internet.
And we have folks 11:46 in the morning. Tom Trento, your host here on WNN 1470. For those of you just coming in, look, turn to this station every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It is that now. 1 hour, we're going to bring you all the latest information, our spin, which is the proper and correct spin on everything. And we're going to hold your hand through this crisis to give you good information. We have great contacts on this, but we're also going to move ahead and try to prepare the state of Florida for the re-election of President Trump, notwithstanding every leftist and globalist now in the world trying to blame him for the collapse of the world over this nonsense. We're going to stand strong and provide information for you, particularly as we deconstruct and continue to investigate Andrew Gillum and his organization, Forward Florida Action. But the guy that most likely is going to be the competitor, the guy that wants you to entrust him with the capability to handle everything, had he shifted as we are even doing, and you're going to see much more live streaming on our part. You're going to see more live streaming on Sharia Crime Stoppers right here. We got a lot planned for you, but he had a little live streaming event. So live means
I'm
you're
playing.
live.
I'm already playing it, Tom. I'm playing it.
And stream means it's going out on the internet.
Yeah, no, see.
And here we go.
Yeah, it's already playing. Yep, that's dead air you're hearing.
Hello.
That's dead air you're hearing.
Come in, Joe. Come in, Joe.
It's
So
had
what
a
is on
picture-
the screen right now?
Biden for Illinois for Biden, and the little lady just came on the screen, the tech person, And I can understand that.
Okay,
mistake.
so they're streaming live.
They're
Streaming live right now. Listen carefully, everybody.
Yeah, hold on. Here comes a good part.
Here we go.
Okay. Anyway,
Take it, Joe.
So
Take it, Joe. Yeah, keep
Joe
going.
Biden's live stream
Come on,
from
Joe.
From where? Illinois. This was from Illinois.
Illinois.
How many seconds are we into the live? We've been live for a minute almost.
I can understand that. Sometimes you come on here.
Oh, listen to Mark.
Listen
No,
to-
no. It's a little
Listen,
early.
I understand from.
Hop,
from
hop,
a-
hop, hop.
Hold, here we go. We got something coming up.
Who's that guy?
Not
Who
Joe.
is that?
That's not Joe. That's,
know.
That's one of the tech guys.
That's a tech guy looking down. We can look up his nose. We can look up his. Look, you know what? He has a nasal cavity that needs some attention.
Yeah. Now this is the president.
We're back.
back to
This guy will be president,
Here we go.
perhaps.
Now
Come
this-
on, Joe.
Now, let me explain to everybody what we're doing. We're playing a live stream presentation by Vice President Joe Biden the other night. And here we go. Here's audio.
No, there's no idea.
I heard something. We're playing a live stream. It goes on for 39 minutes, but there's about 5 or 6 just crazy minutes of nonsense.
We get an E on the
Oh,
screen.
here we go.
Got the
Something's
E on
going
the
on.
screen, so.
Here he is.
Hey, Joe, this is Joe's audio.
Action now. Ready to take
This is him talking.
This is not. Your radio is perfectly okay right now.
worse. Look, we need to lead with science. That's a starter.
Nothing wrong with your radio. You hear me clearly. This is your future president.
Now I'm going to go fast because they went back to the screen again. But now here's later towards. Now the tech guys have had 30 minutes to figure this out.
I know. It's unacceptable. We're making fun of this.
And I'm usually in defense of the tech guys, but I've looked at this thing and I'm like, oh God, this is bad. I mean,
He was nowhere, he can't manage, he couldn't produce a 20-minute live stream, which is not that difficult. We've done how many thousands of hours of this stuff?
and I've been in that situation.
Of
okay,
course.
but it's like.
Well, you weren't the vice president of the United States
right.
with, you could,
with 30
you could
people
say
behind you,
something.
yeah.
Exactly. Unacceptable. Guy couldn't manage a little presentation, which is, we'll see the second one, what happens. The presentation is exactly the scrambleness that's inside his brain. The same thing came
It is.
out.
But here's the thing: if you're vice presidential candidate and you're auditioning for the job of president, like I got problems under control, he's just he totally dropped the ball with
But
the
he
whole
had
technical
he
stuff.
had some help there. I think there's a senator standing by who's helping to manage that.
Yeah.
It's his
Well,
Illinois.
that's
I think
about as clueless as
this-
Joe.
Was it Dick Durbin?
It was a senior senator from
Yeah,
Illinois.
yeah,
Dick
yeah.
Durbin is part of the program, part of the delivery. He actually is shown on camera holding a baby, which is always a good campaign item.
He's holding a baby.
He's holding a baby, and the president is gargling. The president is doing a scope commercial, and we're listening.
Well, you always should do a test run, especially on this type of stuff from a technical point of view. Get all the bugs worked out before the talent comes on screen. They got to kind of, hey, we're doing, hey, welcome here, people. Oh, I'm sorry, we're having a little technical difficulties. Sorry.
I give him no mercy on this. He is running for the president of the
Exactly.
United
That's the
States of
point.
America.
That's the point.
Unacceptable. It just goes along with his chaotic and unsure worldview. That's just the way he is.
Right.
So, Joe Biden, you're hurting, buddy, but you're going to win here in Florida today.
Yep. Which is a good thing. If something
No,
happens,
Bernie would have been so much fun to run again.
Yeah, but Bernie, I don't want him, especially with this virus thing going on. I don't want him anywhere near the presidency.
Well, no, but he'll be in charge of the Health and Human Services. He will be guiding our health under an Obama administration.
No, what Biden should
Biden
do.
administration.
What Biden should do is, and I think this would work. Joe Biden, we're making a recommendation for
Oh, and it's
you.
Irish too. Joe Biden.
Joe Biden on St. Patty's Day. We're
Joe
making a
Biden.
recommendation. We're making a recommendation for you. 11:53 in the morning, Tom Trento. You ought to pull Bernie aside quietly, no hot mics, and offer him. If you offer him what I'm going to suggest, he will go, I'm in. He'll drop out. You give him the job. Problem solved. Guess what it is, gentlemen? Ambassador to Cuba.
Oh,
there
there you go.
God, oh,
Perfect.
Or Russia. He can give you Russia too.
No, Russia's a confused country. They're They're an oligarchy, and
Cuba's better. Cuba's better.
They're torn between their orthodox religious beliefs and their Marxism, and
maybe Venezuela a little bit.
but it's clean, clear cut in Cuba, man.
Cuba, man. Yeah.
So, all right, 11:53. Let's get into Andrew Gillum a little bit.
All right.
Here's what we have. We have Andrew Gillum, an individual. We have a video we can play for our folks, the 2-minute video.
Yeah, if you want
Yeah,
to.
let's just play. What we're going to do, a very, very serious investigation, continue our investigation. But we have a series of videos we did in 2018, exposés. We're going to play one right now. We'll leave you with this one for this show, let you think about it, and then we'll pick this up tomorrow. What one is this that we're playing?
Well, this is the communist one. Communist Party USA.
He's endorsed by the Communist Party?
Oh, yeah. Him and Stacey Abrams and
Okay.
all the other.
No way.
All right, here we go. Listen to this. This is our fancy opening.
Yeah.
You got to watch this, UnitedWest.org. Okay, Tom here with another provocative 2-minute video so that individuals can vote intelligently on November 6th. And what we try to do is to grab the viewer so that we can get your attention and then provide information to enable you to vote intelligently. Along those lines, if I were to tell you something like the Communist Party USA endorses President Trump, you'd go, that sounds crazy. But if I were to tell you that the Communist Party USA endorses Socialist Democrat running for governor in the state of Florida, Andrew Gillum, you'd go, what? That's true, folks. Stacey Abrams running for governor on the Democrat ticket in Georgia, also endorsed by the Communist Party USA. Now, these communists are real-life communists. They don't endorse all the left or all the Democrats. They have a select group of people. And both Stacey Abrams, Georgia, and Andrew Gillum in Florida have been endorsed because they follow the political platform of the Communist Party. Listen to this. In our Political Action Commission and National Board, we've reviewed competitive races, communist talking, in states where we have Communist Party presence in order to determine how best to effectively deploy our resources with the interconnected goals of contributing to the election and strengthening our party and the people's world. So they chose both Georgia and Florida to support Stacey Abrams, Andrew Gillum. The communists are supporting these people for governor. What more do you need to vote intelligently? How intelligent is it to vote for communists today? Please, on November 6th, blow the communists out, vote intelligently.
And what was funny, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar were on that list, too.
They're on there.
AOC as well.
AOC.
That was, what is the date of that? What is the exact
I
date?
know, this is 2018.
Yeah, what, like October? Or was it getting toward the end of the race?
No, it's just before. If I remember, it was like a month or two before.
No, it wasn't that early.
Yeah, I think it was, Tom.
Well, you can look on the thing. It actually gives
Yeah,
you the date, Mr. Director back there. You want a job with Joe Biden?
November 5th, 2018.
November 5th, so 3 days, but no, 1 day before.
No, we put it out earlier than that. I definitely remember this going out earlier.
I think we did put it out
because
a little
I look at the studio. The studio had like nothing.
I know, there's nothing in it.
There's
I
like just
know.
a brick wall.
That's 2 years ago, right after the fire, and we were slowly coming back. Go to theunitedwest.org, and you can play the video of today's show. Today is St. Patrick's Day.
Patrick's Day.
On the 17th. Tomorrow, or depending whenever Mark gets it done, there's no bars open.
Hey. I had
The
some internet issues last night.
you can watch this, and you'll see the difference in our studio. Speaking of the studio, two items. We'll start tomorrow's show with the ramifications of the Communist Party endorsing Andrew Gillum. That's what we're going to start with tomorrow. That's very important.
Get to Andrew Gillum. Good. All right.
We're gonna start with that. But 2 points, ladies and gentlemen. One, look, things are getting tight, and the finances are getting tight here at the United West. People are concerned about their finances, all of that. We exist on donations. We appeal to you. You can go to theunitedwest.org, The United West. Make sure you put the in there, like the Ohio State University, theunitedwest.org. top left-hand side, donate. Please go there, make a donation, large, small, everything's appreciated, but we really need it in these difficult days ahead.
Right.
And you need us here. We're going to bring you information that will help protect your wealth, your family, all of that. And we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll talk about Andrew and commies. Take care. Have a safe day.